Oh, since it's split, they're not going to have a safety. What? Since it's split, like there's two different types. Yeah, definitely the heat is on here in COTA.
From the East Coast to the West Coast, we now meet somewhere in the middle. In fact, right in the heart of Texas here at COTA. And it's time for the qualifying in the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America Cayman Series. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury, along with Carrera Cup North America driver Ashley Freiberg. Joey, go fast day is always fun, but being quick at a technical place like this is going to require real precision.
100%. We are here at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, and a beautiful weekend. It's going to be a little bit warm here on the track, Joe. It is nearly 100 degrees ambient temperature, so you talk about the physicality, and not only how physical you got to be inside these hot, warm race cars, but the mental aspect too. 20 turns around this place.
No doubt. It's going to be a lot to ask for, and this place does offer up opportunities, Ashley, once we get to the race. But this qualifying, how important do you think it's going to be to get that track position?
Qualifying is super important where you start, especially heading into turn one. You see it's super wide on the entry there, which can be inviting for people to sort of sneak their way up lap one, turn one. So, and then once you get past turn one, it's a lot of interconnected corners. It's really difficult to pass here, especially with the heat. So you want to have that good position at the start.
Now, you can see we've got different color coding on our tower on the left-hand side. The white boxes, those are going to be your Pro-Am class drivers, and then the yellow boxes will be your Masters. Now, they will still be intermingled according to their qualifying time. They'll all be racing together for the overall, but they will not be racing for points, so they're mostly worried about those within their class. We've already had the clock started, but we're still waiting for the first times to be up on the board as just some of the sectors now starting to show up for us on our timing and scoring, Joey. And the other factor that I think we're going to be talking about a lot is the heat.
The heat is very abundant, and you can't escape it here in Austin, Texas this weekend. 25-minute session in terms of this qualifying, and as you can see, even just the first timed laps are not put on the board yet. So it is a long racetrack. These cars are going to be doing 2 minutes plus per lap in terms of those lap times out there. So it really is about getting out there, getting your performance level up in terms of the driver, understanding that heat requirement that the car is basically baking you inside that cockpit out there, and then going out there and laying down those fast laps.
Now, this is our third round of the season that you're seeing here in Texas. We were at Sebring for round one. Those were two races there. And then we had our two races at Sonoma. And now we've got our two events here this weekend. So we've already got some points on the board. Jens Hansen has been one of the quickest all season long with 2 wins at Sebring and 2 wins at Sonoma. But part of that was Sonoma, he had some other competition coming in and competing with him that kind of stole some of those points away, Ashley. So, yes, he needs to bounce back, but I have a feeling he's probably feeling in a pretty good position right now.
Yeah, I mean, when you're going for a championship, you're thinking long-term as well. So you want to have good, consistent results throughout an entire season. So, I'm sure he's focusing forward and just trying to improve every single weekend. And really, it's key as well to focus on your own program, not get too distracted by your competitors, because everyone's fighting to win the race. So everybody's going to be improving each weekend. So you just have to keep focusing on your own job.
First time around, it looks like Jens Hansen does have our overall pole position. Bill Pelichewski, though, coming back after he had to miss out in Sonoma because of an accident on the first race at Sebring, Joey. I'm glad to see him back. He's in a different chassis now, obviously, but clearly it has not cost him speed.
No, he's sitting right now on top of the class, and second overall with that 2:18.1. And just as I say that, I think that Anna Czecki just slipped into second place overall, and second place in that Pro-Am class with a 2:16.8. And talking about these lap times, I think that the Cayman's probably capable down there in the 11s, maybe 12s. We'll see if the drivers can push it a little bit faster than that. But given that these are the first time laps on a very, very hot, warm, slippery track, I think that things are going to continue to improve.
So Bill Finnick also jumping into second in the Masters. Ashley, I've been really impressed with Anna Czecki, with what little racing experience she has. She's shown quite a bit of speed here early.
Yeah, she's doing an amazing job. Like you said, this is her first season in a car, so really cool to see her up there with Lonnie as well. Both the women running up front is really cool for me to see.
Definitely a big part of Porsche's program. They have the female driver program and the young driver program that they both having multiple drivers taking part in each year to try and help promote new talent come up through the ranks. So we see more of the drivers cross the line. Looks like Asplund has managed to move himself up into fourth in class there in the Pro-Am. Erica Hoffman, as well, suddenly jumps up. She's now into fourth, replacing Asplund and shuffling him down one position. Still a few more that we're waiting to see set a time. Scalzo, watch out for him because Joey, he's been extremely fast, taking multiple wins this season. In fact, I believe 3 out of the 4 so far already.
He had a terrific performance a few weeks back out at Sonoma, so you're right, Scalzo going to be one to watch out there. He's currently sitting in 17th overall, but it's because he has not put down that lap time yet. So once he actually registers a lap time, we'll kind of see his respective speed. And just as you say that, I'm seeing purple sector 1 out here, so he's looking to be on a heater.
Absolutely. So I don't put aside the fact that you might see that car suddenly jump up towards the top, and not just of those yellow boxes, but possibly overall. Scalzo is hard to beat. I was talking to one of the other drivers earlier on today, and when he was discussing, who he was expecting to fight up against, his comment about Elaine was that, he's basically in a class of his own. Nobody can touch him.
Sometimes it can feel like that out there, but just got to go back, look at the data, see what you can improve on in terms of your driving, what you can and your equipment out there, and that's really what you kind of have to judge yourself up against. And then, of course, there's always going to be room for improvement in getting faster.
Another purple sector for Elaine in Sector 2. Looks like the 59 stopped on track for some reason in Sector 3. This is right around where we're looking at now, but I don't see the car. Car 59, of course, was off a little earlier. That is the recent one. That's one we're just talking about now, as we have had a couple spins a little bit earlier on. The car still showing stationary as Scalzo gets his lap in before we have anything happen. That's going to be important here. If we get a red flag, that could take away qualifying time for these drivers that have yet to get a proper lap in, Ashley.
Yeah, it's tough trying to manage when or if a yellow or a red flag comes out, so we'll see what happens here. It looks like he's just stalled there. He might be, there's 2 cars off there actually.
Oh. So I'm trying to make out who that other one is, because we don't have them marked as stopped on our timing and scoring currently. One of them gets moving. The other one's still halted out on the track, and there's the red flag. So we're still waiting for Lecoq, Buffkin, and Ammon to set a time, and the clock will continue to tick here. So this essentially, Joey, eats into their opportunities to set a competitive lap.
It goes back to what you were saying about Scalzo and how important that was to sneak in that one single lap time before that red flag came out. I mean, he was looking at not even having a lap time on the board, and now he's sitting right up at the top. And not sure if you caught that, Ashley. I saw maybe a little bit of fluid coming out the bottom of that Cayman sitting out there at turn number 20. So I think he did the right thing. The driver did the right thing. Either there was a problem in that corner or was able to read the dash, see that there's an issue with the car, and pull it off safely.
Yeah, that was smart driving on his part to pull the car off the line, way off the track, so it doesn't affect other drivers. Hopefully they can clean this up quick and some drivers can get some additional laps in here.
So that is Reggie Tartaglione that was off to the side there, who seems to have brought out the red flag. And of course, that will delete your 2 fastest laps on top of things. He was towards the back of the field in times, so I'm not sure that it will affect his position all that greatly. One that might see his position affected is I see that Jens Hansen had a lap invalidated for every driver's favorite topic, Joey, track limits.
I'm sure that we're going to be talking about them all weekend long here. I mean, it's only session number 1, about 10 minutes into it, and we're already talking about it here at COTA. There's a ton of pavement at this place, and the racing line is pretty much designated by the paint, right? It's not necessarily grass that's just off of the racing line. So drivers, they're going to take advantage of it wherever they can, whether it's on entry, whether it's jumping over those sausage curbs, bread box curbs, those orange curbs at the apex. You can literally straddle them in these Caymans. They got enough ride height clearance that you can really shave off some corner arc there, and then yeah, the corner exits. I mean, what's holding you back from driving it way out there?
Well, and Ashley, you know, one of the drivers I was talking to, they made an interesting point. This place is almost in flux, it seems like. He mentioned that, you know, between the repaving that they do frequently here, there's also those apex curbs that Joey is talking about, that every time, he said every time he shows up, he feels like he has to relearn the track.
Yeah, I was also talking to Lonnie earlier. She was saying you can actually see it in this shot here. They put some sausage curbs on some of the exits as well. So, yeah, I mean, every time I've come here, I feel like I've had to change my driving based on whether they put new curbing up or they paved sections of the track, or even I've seen them grind down areas of the track as well. So it kind of keeps you on your toes, though. I love a good technical racetrack, so it's kind of fun that it's not the same every single time.
It will definitely separate our times, no doubt, on the board, which hopefully we'll see return shortly, as they've now got Reggie on the hook, and they'll bring him back into pit lane. And thankfully, with him being right there, Joe, it looks like it's a relatively quick cleanup, and as long as they don't have to do anything about those fluids.
Yeah, and you know, when they were pulling them back across the actual racetrack, I didn't see anything coming out of the bottom of the car. So I think that the actual racing surface through 19 and 20 is totally clean out there. And just as I say that, you know, they're pulling the car by us here in the broadcast booth. Can't really see up over this concrete wall, but they do have the obstruction clear from the racetrack.
All right, so that should give enough time for at least a couple laps. Granted, it takes over 2 minutes to circulate around this track. So we have to remember that there is, of course, an outlap, Ashley, and then there's getting the car back into working condition, getting those tires up to temperature. This really is going to suck up time.
Yeah, if you're going to lay down a lap, you want it to be your first lap out. So also, we are green now. The other thing as well is that you want to make sure you have a good gap and nice spacing between the cars in front of you so that you can get your nice clear lap going in here.
That clock that you see on your upper left is the amount of time left in the session. So about 10.5 minutes now that the car is getting back on track. Important to remember, if you're new to motorsports, that once that clock does hit 0, as long as you have already crossed the start-finish line, you can complete the lap you're on. We call them a hot lap. So if you can finish your hot lap, then you could still get another time on the board even after the time has hit 0. But you need to get back around to that checkered flag to wrap it up. And, of course, you need those 2 qualifying laps, Joey. So it's not just the one. You got to get out there and set 1 for today, or, well, 1 for tomorrow and 1 for Sunday.
Absolutely. You got 2 races going on, so you need those 2 qualifying laps to set your grid position. And, man, it's going to be hot out here. I was going to touch on the point that Ashley was saying, just qualifying. You want your own space on the racetrack out there. And then we were also talking about track limits, right? So I'm going to combine those 2. If you are following somebody and they simply drive off the racetrack and get one of those track limit violations or get a lap time invalidated, what happens if you are simply following them along in this qualifying effort? You're going to follow them right off the racetrack. So it goes to Ashley's point that figure out your own little piece of racetrack, throw everybody else out the window, don't worry about what they are doing, and solely focus on your qualifying effort.
So who has that focus to try and bring home a good lap right here at the end of the qualifying session? Again, you can see there at the bottom where it says not classified. Those are the drivers that still need a lap time put down, a lap time, let alone 2, that they need to try and get one counted so that they have one for each of the races that we're going to have this weekend. And then, of course, they do have to look out for their equipment because this is one of the weekends that we will have our Endurance Challenge here, the Porsche Endurance Challenge North America Series, going to be sharing the track. This is where they had the inaugural race for that series last year, and we're returning once again for a 90-minute event. But we watched them come around the final corner to get their hot laps going with about 8.5 minutes left to go now. We'll see who can start to light up the sector times.
That top of the sheet right now is a 2:16.314, and I was actually looking at our second place car of Hansen, that number 12. I just noticed 1/100th of a second behind Scalzo. That's how close our top two are.
You can see that Pelichowski a bit of ways behind, almost a second behind Scalzo in class. So he's got some work to do, but even still, I'm kind of impressed that Bill has returned as well as he did, Ashley, because a driver having a wreck like he did, the car actually rolled over. I can imagine that could do some things to you mentally before you hop back in.
You know, I haven't experienced that myself, so I can't say, but I do know, like, when you have a big wreck, for sure, you want to get back in the car. Yeah, exactly. Knock on wood. You want to get back in the car as quickly as possible as far as dealing with your psyche after that, because the sooner you can kind of throw that out of your mindset, the better off you'll be in the long run. So I think it's, you know, smart that he's jumping right back in, and he's doing a great job.
Doing fantastic. Just needs to find some time to catch up to the leader within his class. And Lonnie Unser, a purple second sector. She's very close to trying to take that pole away in her class, about 2/10 behind Jens Hansen. With a lap this long, Joey, there's definitely places you could find 2/10.
Tons of time is out there. Remember, we got 20 turns here at COTA, and if you're only trying to make up a quarter of a second, 2/10, it doesn't all need to happen in one corner. Imagine just a couple hundredths here, a couple hundredths there, maybe releasing the brake and rolling a little bit better through turn 11 to be able to get on the gas down that long back straightaway. So I think when you're searching for that time, the driver automatically knows, oh, did I make a mistake in turn number 1? Did I make a mistake in turn number 12 on the brake zone? And they can probably go find that chunk, but lots of times it's just those little bits added up.
She did not improve on the final sector, so she stays at a 2:16.5 for now, but clearly there is pace in the car on this restart of the qualifying session. In fact, this is our first qualifying session of all the series competing this weekend, so these are the first drivers to really have to push and test what is possible out there, and so far Scalzo is the quickest amongst them with our provisional pole. 5 minutes now left to go, and still time left to get at least a couple more laps down.
I'm looking through the majority of the field, and because of that red flag that we had, that kind of temporarily halted qualifying, the majority of these drivers have only put down 2 actual timed laps. So this is going to be a race here in this next 5 minutes to get both of those laps in. Like you said, we've got both of the races that they need to qualify for. And bottom line, you need to be out there on the racetrack if you want to do it.
Exactly. And right now, that P next to the name, that is for drivers in pit lane. So Bonderson, Kerr, Lecoq, Buffkin, Tartaglione, all not taking part. And unless they get out right now, they probably won't have a chance to get another lap down. Some of them, any lap down. We'll have to go and check out, see what has happened to a few of our competitors potentially not taking part, at least in this qualifying session. But let's see who's quick this time by. First sector, Reinhold Kranz looking like he's got a quick lap going as he sets a personal best. He sits 8th in class in the Masters right now.
And just talking about this beautiful racetrack that we've got here in Austin, Texas, where we're getting these amazing shots from, is watching the Caymans blast down this back straightaway here, and then they'll jump hard on the brakes for what is turn number 12 at this racetrack, and it kind of leads us into what is Sector 3, kind of the stadium section that we see here with the giant tower off in the distance. One of the most technical sectors here at COTA, and man, you got to stay on the racing line, and I think that this is one of the areas that the drivers can really abuse those track limits.
Certainly, there's a little bit less worry if something goes wrong at these lower speeds, no doubt. And that can just mean you're pushing just a bit beyond the edge. Meanwhile, not seeing anybody with 2 green sectors, 2 personal bests on this first 2. Rizzo is looking like he's got a good middle sector. And then Aidu also has a good one, as we see a few of them cross the line now with 3.5 minutes left to go. Anna Checki stopped into pit lane for a brief moment, and now she's back out on track. So she will get back out there as we watch the number 30 come up around that first corner. That hill is really huge, Ashley. I feel like these cameras do not do justice how big of a rise that is.
Yeah, it is super steep, and actually it really helps the brake zone there quite a bit when the car compresses right when you go to that brake initially. But then right at the top, you lose all that elevation, so you have to make sure you're coming off of the brake when you start to turn in there. Otherwise, things can get a little hairy.
So as we watch them work their way back up through the S's uphill here into 8 and 9, where it crests and then plunges back down for a while until you go to the ever important exit of turn 11. And there it looks like, yeah, that is Anna, I believe, that is just trying to stay out of the way on her outlap. For these drivers that are on a flyer right now as the 30 of Proper goes by. He sits 6th in that Pro-Am class. He needs some improvement.
Yeah, he's going down this back straightaway section right now, and one thing that we always think about Texas, it's flat, but here at COTA in Austin, it is not flat. You even have those undulations going down that back straightaway here, and then into the stadium section is one of the lesser elevation sections of this racetrack. Got those skid marks from some drifting that was happening here recently, so don't worry about all of those. That is not the racing line out there. You can see Anna getting everything warmed up, but this is probably the slowest corner that we've got here at COTA. One of the more technical sectors, and Ashley, you had said that you love a technical racetrack. I always love hearing other racers' kind of reasons behind it, but what do you like about the technicality of this place?
There's a lot of elements. I mean, obviously the heat can be looked at as a negative, but I think the heat actually adds quite a bit of a challenge to this track, and not only mentally but with the car as well, and making sure that you're not sliding your Yokohama tires too much in this heat. This track has a lot of interconnected corners, so you have to really make sure you're thinking far ahead and compromising the previous set of corners so that you get it right. And basically from turn 1 all the way down to turn 11, I treat as one giant corner because you're never straight. So I feel like that just adds a whole different element of how you have to think really far ahead in the car.
That was Griff Osplund that we saw in the orange machine coming through on what must be his final lap, maybe trying to get one more go because we're down to less than a minute. So anybody starting this lap definitely won't be able to get around to start another afterwards. This is their last chance, and there is Anna coming up the hill. So she's now started her final lap. She sits in 4th overall, but 3rd in class. Lonnie Unser ahead of her did come into pit lane, Joey, so she has a good opportunity to try and take that front row.
Yeah, we'll see what Anna can do. I thought she might have been cheating turn 1 just a little bit on the entry, and that's something COTA is known for. A lot of these sharp hairpin corners, turn number 1, turn number 11, turn number 12, they really widen out in terms of the track width there. So the drivers, they come up to this brake zone, all of a sudden the track gets really wide, they see the apex over there, they want to turn in, but actually the fast way around here is not cheating that first half of the corner, really getting the drive out of it.
And apologies, it does look like Anna is in pit lane now, we're seeing, so that wasn't her that we saw going by as the checkered flag is out. Session is over, but drivers that are trying to complete their hot laps do have the ability to try and improve. I see Dan Ammon, Greg Checki, Griff Osplund, Erica Hoffman, Rizzo, Crines, Proper, Aidu, all still out on the circuit. As there goes Greg Checki, and does not improve that lap, so he stays put 6th in class.
And as we see, that checkered flag, like you said, is out. So these drivers on their last qualifying lap pretty much have the top 6, call it the top 8 already in pit lane. The only one we're waiting on is Dan Ammon in that number 91. And I think that this is actually a good recovery for Dan, because remember, he was down at the bottom of the board for the majority of this session.
Exactly, and Dan finding fourth place in class is no mean feat. Erica Hoffman improves. She goes to 7th overall, but I think she might actually have stayed in the same spot in her class as she's currently scored in 4th. But her best lap on that final time around will definitely do her no harm in helping to get her out of some of the action of the mid-pack. Reinhold Kron stays put where he is 8th in the Masters class. So at this point, we're just waiting on Ammon and I do to wrap this one up.
And you know, Joe, I am not feeling jealous of our starter in that glass box. I mean, it is 96 degrees right now, ambient air temperature, and that's inside of a little glass box there. It's got to be warm.
A greenhouse, yeah. He's not in a glass cage of emotions, but I'm sure there are some emotions going through his head right now with how hot it is today. And I think that's about everybody. We're still waiting on Dan. So I'm not sure if he's going to complete this lap. Yes, he will. Just goes by us, but he'll stay put 4th in class, 8th overall. Remember, they will have all these drivers intermingled amongst each other because they are in the same car, but they are just separated by according to their driver classification. All right, then. That is our first qualifying done and dusted for the day. And Elaine Scalzo will take the pole in the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America Cayman Series by Yokohama. Jens Hansen, pole for his class of the Pro-Ams, will start from 2nd, and then Lonnie Unser will be 3rd. You've got Anna Checki 4th, and Bill Pelichowski in 5th. Tom Kopczynski, P6 for him. Erica Hoffman starts 7th today. Dan Ammon in P8, Bill Finnick in 9th, and Greg Checki rounds out your top 10. Griff Osplund will be starting in 11th. Then it's Joe Rizzo in P12, Reinhold Kron's 13th, Spencer Proper in 14th, and Idu will be starting in 15th. Then it's Paul Bonderson, 16th today. Kerr starts in 17th. Lecoq, Buffkin, and Tartaglione did not set a time in that session. We'll have the USA West qualifying coming up shortly. Stay tuned as we've got more action here at Circuit of the Americas.